Whoa! Welcome to the What's Already podcast, where we fashion ourselves cinematic judge and jury. My name is JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-host, Alec Burgess.
Let's get it.
We appreciate you tuning in. Go ahead, hit that follow, subscribe, like, bell notification, all those buttons. Push your own button while you're at it. Tell a friend.
Take care of you.
Yeah, always take care of you. In fact, if you're really weird and freaky, do it while you're listening or watching. I mean, I'm all for that shit. I feel for you and your tastes if that's how you do that. But I mean,
maybe we should change the way we do this into more like sultry voices, JJ.
Well, I mean, I've been sick, so I've had my Barry White voice. So maybe
there
the
we
last
go.
couple episodes have been the time, right? Like, and it's all fun and sexy until I start hacking my guts up, and then
which just makes it more real. Let's be
exactly.
honest.
That's fair. That's fair. But yeah, as always, we appreciate you tuning in. So we're going to be reviewing today Fracture. It was released April 20th, 2007. It was written by Daniel Pine and Glenn Gers. It was directed by Gregory Hoblit. Stars Anthony Hopkins, Ryan Gosling, David Strathairn, Rosamund Pike, Emmett Davids, Billy Burke, Cliff Curtis, Fiona Shaw, and Josh Stamberg. An attorney intending on climbing the career ladder towards success finds an unlikely opponent in a manipulative criminal he is trying to prosecute. And most of the time, these like synopses on IMDb are shitty because they're kind of wrong. This one's right, but it's so
shitty
doesn't do this movie any justice. Like, this movie is so complex. Like, and I will say I'm going to be completely and utterly biased during this episode because this was one of my recommendation movies.
I love it.
Found it years ago, saw it in the theater just because I'll watch anything that's got Anthony Hopkins in it.
And because it was released on 420.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you went to see it in the theaters.
Can't go wrong with that. I mean, I probably was high when I watched it, if I'm being honest. 2007, that's not a far cry for me. 2023, it's not a far cry for me.
Excellent. Well, I want to get the elephant out of the room away.
Yeah.
I wish I had a dick like Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Right?
Because honestly, his dick was probably the best dick in the history of dicks. So like, I'm super jealous. I don't know about you, JJ, but
very jealous.
Clearly a top-notch dick.
The old man's got a good dick.
Hopkins. I mean, amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, wonderful, wonderful dick.
Telling you. He hired it.
That was my favorite part of the movie, honestly.
Dude, it's so funny. Yeah, it's his, and I think, like, look, this movie's fantastic, but this movie would not be as good, maybe not even good at all, if not for Anthony Hopkins.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, he carries this movie.
You have a lot of good actors.
Sure.
Who've done a lot of things, but aside from Ryan Gosling, they're all B-list actors.
Yeah.
Great at what they do, but nobody to really carry and put the movie on their back. Anthony Hopkins comes in and does an amazing job.
Oh, yeah. And I think I texted you that this is my favorite
Westworld and Hannibal.
Yeah, Westworld and Hannibal character of his. And I think it's because it kind of combines the two characters a little bit. Like, he's just
mad genius with the sadistic side.
Too smart for his own good, smarter than everybody in the room.
And knows it.
And yeah, and is not afraid to, play that up, and has this wicked, dirty, nasty streak to him that, like, is frightening. And so, it's like you talk about, you're sitting in this room with the fucking judge presiding over his attempted murder case, and he's making jokes about his freaking dick, about his private detective in front of the judge. And she just kind of sits there like, I probably should be offended by this, but I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm not gonna.
I'm more upset that the prosecutor doesn't have a fucking case.
Yeah, that this guy that is doing the worst thing in that he's defending himself. Like, you shouldn't do that. We know that.
Never.
but he's knocking it out of the park, even though he seemed like a moron most of his trial.
Yeah, he shows up on the first day, just doodles, and your witness. Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Like says hi to his gardener. Like, no, do you want to question it? Oh, no, you're okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't do anything on his day one of the trial.
Nope.
At all. Just is goofing off. You were working on his next project, asking if he's going to be home for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Then
ripping papers out of the thing and distracting freaking the prosecutor. Oh, I loved it.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody else could have really pulled it off that way. Certainly nobody in our era.
No.
Or the era that this film was filmed in. It would be impossible to get that level of greatness.
Yeah. Well, and I think one thing about Anthony Hopkins that has always stuck out to me is that even when he's playing characters like Hannibal, the guy's a fucking cannibal serial killer. And
you like him.
You do. Like, I want to hang out with this fucking guy. Like, my spleen will probably be on his dinner plate by the time it's done, but I want to hang out with this guy.
Yeah, you're rooting for him. You're rooting for the bad guy.
Only Anthony Hopkins can do that. Very few characters can be that much of a bad guy. And it's the same with this movie. He's sitting there and he's just this lovable idiot strolling through this trial. And like the first time you watch it, you're kind of like, okay, he's got something up his sleeve. He's too smart to not understand that he's got a fucking release valve. He has to. But you're looking at him going, this goofy fucking dumbass, like, it's great. And you're like, go you, dude. Especially because we all hate lawyers. We all hate the criminal justice system for the most part. Like, even the judge, when they're at his arraignment, is like, he's another guy trying to take advantage. He's a citizen, so it's his right to try to take advantage of the justice system, just like everybody else. And I was like, what a clever fucking line, because it's true. It's a manipulatable, and it's a broken to a certain degree system, even though it's still a functional system, and it's a system that's probably better than most out there, but it's still broken. But you just root for this dude, and up to the end, like, you're just like, okay, his wife was cheating on him.
He was just went about it smarter than everybody else would have.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and another one, it's so clever too, like the way he handles it. Like, Casey kept, because like you go through and you're like, it's done. He's got a confession, he's got a murder weapon, he's got everything you need to convict this dude. Like, he's got to know. And then when he's so nonchalantly standing there in his cell during the arraignment, he's like, not guilty. Oh, and I have, I'm like, wait, what? Did you just say not guilty? Like, how's that gonna work?
Right, like, you signed a confession. Why are you pleading not guilty?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's so clever in like the second layer of this whole thing that's going on, where it's such a shut and done case, and he picks his prosecutor.
Yeah.
He picks Ryan Gosling as a prosecutor, a guy who only takes, open and closed cases, like cases that are in the bag to get his win rate up. Like, that's all he cares about. Those are the courses, the cases that he takes. And Anthony Hopkins set it up so he would get an overconfident, cocky lawyer like that who wants this easy case, is not going to do a lot of work, and find out that all of their evidence that would have made this just a shoo-in, useless, can't be used. And that way, he knows whoever takes his case is not going to have a fallback plan. Yeah. They haven't done due process up to that point. They just said, okay, I got an easy case, be home for lunch.
Yep.
Type of a thing.
Well, and it's amazing. It's even genius too, like when he sends him the discovery file back with no written on like every page, and taunts him into the prison to come talk to him. And then while he's there, he gives him an out.
Offers him a job.
Yeah. Come be my lawyer. And that does two things. One, he's going to make it a bucket of money because you can tell this guy's loaded. And he tells him, I'll pay you a shit ton of money, a ridiculous amount of money. Not only that, but by paying him a ton of money, you're bringing on a wealthy client to this new law firm that he's going to. Even though they're a corporate lawyer type thing, they still can do
the private sector.
Private sector stuff like that. So you now bring in a new client that obviously has deep pockets to this
Not to
new,
mention connections.
yeah. So I mean, he offered him not only a way out, but really a solidification to this new job that he's trying to get with this high profile law firm that he's got, and he's shitting on by losing this case and getting wrecked on this case. It just is such a devious. He's so twisted this whole show, and I love every second of it.
Oh, up until like the last 30 minutes.
Yeah,
Like where things start to go off the rails. That's where
Yeah.
you stop rooting for him. But up to that point, you're like, dude,
yeah,
I'm on his side.
yeah, for sure. Like, there's nothing about the situation that I'm like, I get it. If I was that smart, I'd do that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Problem
If
is,
I
I'm not that smart.
I'm not either. Like, no.
And
Oh,
neither is
yeah.
my dick. My dick is not that
Yeah.
smart either. So I'm like really shooting blanks at the moment, right?
Yep. I don't have a really good dick either.
Yeah. So it just wouldn't work out. But I also love like this entire movie. They almost lead you to the answer. And I don't know if you got the answer on your first watch through, JJ, because I know you pick up on stuff like that. But for me, I thought, this switch that happened happened at the beginning in the house.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's it. That's where it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Come to find out, no, there's another level added to this.
Yeah.
And it turns out to be the smoking gun in the whole situation. I was like, motherfucker. Because I was watching, I was like, okay, you had kind of told me what this movie is about. And within the first 30 seconds, I'm like, okay, I got an idea for what's going on. I was like, motherfucker, what the hell? Missed it by that much.
Yep.
Which drove me nuts.
Yep. And it's the double, because I thought, just so you know, early on, and when the first time I saw it, I thought too, I was like, oh, he swapped guns. And then, you know what I mean? But the double switch, which is even more sick and fucked up, because you could have done the same thing
with
switching the gun in the house, right? Which he does, but he doesn't want it just to be that. He switches it in the hotel room while they're out there having their last session together, their cheating session, so that he kills this woman with the cop's gun and then gives it back. Are you shitting me? How fucking petty are you? Like, that's Petty Murphy level shit right there. Like, and I mean, it's genius too. Like, you can just say, I killed my wife with her lover's weapon, and then this dumbass walked out with the murder weapon so that I can get off scot-free. The only thing that fucks him up is he doesn't actually kill his wife.
Yeah.
If he actually had killed her right out the gate,
he's enjoying his second honeymoon.
Yeah, exactly. And all the taunting he does to Ryan Gosling at the end actually pays off.
It's also the fact that he knew the detective was going to be there for the entire trial. The murder weapon is in the courtroom.
Yeah.
And nobody knows.
Oh yeah.
It's the perfect crime with an incredible amount of cocky, extras thrown in.
Yeah.
To where he doesn't need all this extra stuff. But he puts it in there, he throws it in there, he makes a big show out of it. Like even when he pretends not to know legal jargon, to get that just drop of the hat, fucking the victim.
Yeah.
And you just see in everybody's faces like their knee-jerk reaction. He knows legal jargon. He shows up the next day and he has everything in order. He knows exactly what he's doing, what he's saying, move for acquittal and all this stuff. The judge even points out, it's like, oh, looks like you're much better acquainted with legal proceedings in California now.
Yeah.
Asshole.
Oh man. So good.
But this poor prosecutor, right? Public prosecutor, I guess, or the
public defender. Well, I guess state
prosecutor.
Yeah.
Right. Poor guy's like, she's like, why did you let the detective who was sleeping with the victim take the confession? It's like, I don't fucking know. Makes him look like he has no idea how to do his job.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the best extra layer of this whole thing is not only is he killing his wife and would have gotten is on his way to get away with it scot-free, but he's doing it while he's humiliating everyone involved. Like everyone, to the point that the detective that his wife's sleeping with kills himself in the courtroom after he's acquitted. I mean, Jesus. And what a great line that is later when he's in the, and it's ironic too, because he's in the house and the prosecutor's there. And we know now that the prosecutors figured it out. Well, the first time you watch it, you're like, is he gonna fucking shoot him? Like, is that his,
Yeah.
because he doesn't have evidence? But now he's got new evidence. But he's like, he's like, yeah, sometimes God just sees fit to get, life just sees fit to give us these great little gifts. And I'm like, what a twisted fuck this guy is. And I love every second of it because it's, I want to be
him.
You know what I mean? And that is so fucked up for me to say. And I
Minus the murdery bits, but
that I am a problem person for saying that.
You're
And sure, I'm not
sociopath.
saying I want to, kinda, I have tendencies.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that I want to murder someone. Really.
Maybe you should have led with that.
Probably. However, I want to be in a situation where I'm that guy and I can say shit like that with the level of confidence that I know there's nothing anyone can do about it, with the exception of maybe shooting me, right? Like,
yeah,
that, and I think that's the fun for me. And again, I don't know what this says about me, other than maybe there are some sociopathic tendencies there. That
I love it.
Watching this movie, like I sit and I go, "Fuck, this guy's my hero." Like,
yeah, I'm taking notes on how to pull this shit off.
Yeah, I want to be this level of dastardly. That I can be that kind of smart, that I can be the guy in the room that's beat everyone and then rub their faces in it and know that there's nothing they can do about it.
Oh, yeah. And there's so many little things that can go wrong with this, right? Like, this whole plan doesn't work if in the course of the affair, his wife tells the detective her last name.
Yeah.
None of it works. The fact that, he takes his shirt off that's got all the blood on it, throws it in a fire, there's a chance that doesn't burn all the way and they find fabric or fibers or something like that.
Yeah.
No GSR on his residue or whatever on his hand from the gunshot. He got that off, but maybe he didn't get all of it. But and then they'd never checked the detective's gun. Like, there's all these little things where you think in the testimony, I placed my gun type of a thing on the chair, then went over here. It's like, was you know where your gun was at all times? No, I didn't have a constant eye on it. Okay, let's check your gun.
Yeah.
And things like that. And so it's all these little things that could have just thrown it out of the ballpark, but he still has that level of confidence that, nope, I'm confident you guys are all a bunch of idiots and you are not going to figure out a way to get me.
Yeah. Well, and it makes you wonder, like, how long, because obviously he's been planning this for a minute. Like, we don't know how long he's known that she's been having an affair with this dude. It's obviously been going on for a minute. The guy seems smart enough to figure it out pretty quickly. So, I mean, his level of understanding of the players is pretty strong as well. Like, he knew enough. I mean, you see him make the call asking if that detective's in the office. When's he going to be there? Knowing that once he shows up, human nature is going to have him run to this woman and forget all of protocols, right? Like,
yeah,
it's just genius level shit.
And he's even arrogant on the phone call. Oh, no worries. I'll see him later tonight.
Yeah.
Like, what if he's already on a call? Or there's so many things that could go wrong in this situation.
Yep.
But he is just so confident that it's going to work out.
Yeah.
I aspire to that level of confidence.
Yeah.
Murdery bits be damned, but
yeah, sure.
That level of confidence and, pulling off my perfect crime. Shit.
Yeah. Well, and it's just like him, like the little cocky fucker calling him good old sport the whole movie. Like,
Willie Old Sport.
God, what a fucking dick.
There's a lot of dick jokes in this movie. I'm just starting to realize.
Does it offend you when I call you Willie? No, that's good. And he just smiles, this little shit-eating grin.
Yeah, well, and little Hannibal Lecter smile.
Yeah, speaking of the dick joke, the way that it starts is great because they're asking about evidence of his wife having an affair, and he goes, "My dick has evidence." Like, oh, what?
Which fits into what we know of him in the courtroom up to this point.
Yeah, and the judge is like,
funny because it's a knee-jerk line, but we're like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, my dick has evidence. What? Or excuse me? And he's like, my dick. I have a private investigator. I call him my dick. And then she just kind of looks at the prosecutor like, he's got evidence. What are you going to do? You know what I mean? Oh, fuck. It's just so genius. But to your point, like, there's a lot of, I mean, Ryan Gosling obviously is an A-list actor now. Like, he's not my favorite, but when he's good, he's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's in something that I really like it. But there's things where he's like, eh. Like, I don't love everything that he does.
Mm-mm.
But he's great in this.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's this cocky kid that just gets knocked off his horse. And then he goes into panic mode because his whole life is crumbling around him. And you start to, and I like the journey that his character goes on, right? Because it's almost, and it's kind of fun to watch these two characters because they're the inverse of each other throughout, right? So they both start off, well, Ryan Gosling's character, Willie, starts off very cocky and confident,
Absolutely.
right? Like, this guy's got the world by the balls. He's get this new job. He's worked his way through. He's done it in a way that sets him up for pure success. Even his boss at the DA's like, I mean, you've done it. Yeah, I can't fault you.
You figured it out.
Way to go.
Well played.
Exactly. And then you have this, on the flip side, you have this murder that's committed. And while you can tell that he's confident about what he's doing, you can't help but go, you're fucked. Because there's so much should be evidence against him, including his own confessions, a verbal and a written confession. Now, we know a little bit about that confession is going to be a problem because the detective says, I want to be in the room. And you're like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. Idiot.
Like, yeah. I mean, if you know anything about the law, you know that's going to be a problem if it comes up. But there's still so much other stuff. But you start to watch these guys' paths cross as this poor prosecutor's getting his ass kicked and his confidence is getting shaken. And he's starting to question his own path, his own choices in life and his paths because he's seeing this guy's about to get away with attempted murder, possible murder. And it's his fault because he didn't do his due diligence. He didn't ask the right questions because he was too cocky. On the same token, you go watch this murderer that is in the worst possible position, it seems, to getting cockier and cockier and cockier to the point that he wins. And then at the very end, they flip back to, I'm confident because I found what I was looking for and I figured out your fuck up. Not only that, but you fucked up because you let your such high level of confidence actually put you in a position to not be able to utilize your double jeopardy that you were counting on. Because you let her die, I can now recharge you with different charges of murder, and not just murder, but murder one. Boom. In California, at 2007, you might go to death row, but you're certainly going to spend the rest of your life in prison. And now I've got all the evidence plus another verbal confession. You're toast, dude.
Yeah. And it's great because it also just ties into the movie title, right? Fracture.
Yeah.
They find each other's breaking point. And, Anthony Hopkins talks about it early. It's like your breaking point. I've already found it. It's that you can't lose. Like you do not understand the possibility of losing. And, on the flip side, they didn't really advertise as much, but Ryan Gosling finds his point where Anthony Hopkins thinks he's the smartest guy in the room.
Yep.
And so they find each other's breaking point or their fracture point, and they use it against each other. And that's where the tables get flipped. So just, one of those more added levels into this film. I tell you who I feel sorry for. Who? This poor fucking forensic investigator.
Yeah.
Like, this dude needs some time off. Holy shit. He's trying to do his job. Detective's like, hey, I want to be in the room. He's like, I don't fucking care. Like, pretty much I bag the evidence, then I'm done. Like, you do whatever you want. And then just all of his evidence comes back bad. Gun's never been fired. Confession is shit. You got the guy who's got one foot out the door, yelling at you, busting your balls, telling you suck at your job. And then on top of that, your wife is calling you all the time, mad.
Yeah. Well, and you're having to search this house like 95 times,
and it's a big fucking house.
Like, yeah, it's not a little fucking house. And he's like, because there's got to be a murder weapon, and I love that resilience of Ryan Gosling's character too, where he's just like, it has to be in this house. Like,
nobody left the house until our guys got there.
Yeah, Such a good. And then you were talking about the fracture point. I love the point in the cell when they're having that conversation, and he brings up like there's a little circle of light, and he's touching it, and he's talking about candling eggs, looking for all the imperfections and things like that, and then saying like, "This is what I do. I find like you say, fracture points or breaking points, and this is what I do, and I already know yours." And then he sends him after he hands him his ass in court. He sends him that little fucking broken eggshell. Oh my God.
And he knows too. Like there's no note, there's no return address or anything. He just immediately knows why he got sent that. And it just adds another level to the fuck that mind fuck that's happening to this poor guy.
Yeah. Well, and in the same scene before that, like he starts talking about the job that this guy's got. Like he brings up the new job. And so the guy, and then, I mean, you got to be on your heels at that point. You're like, whoa. And he's like, "Oh, I got a private investigator investigate." He's like, "You're not supposed to investigate me."
You're the one on trial for murder.
Yeah. He's like, "Why not?" And I love that question. Why not? Like,
you're investigating me.
Yeah.
It's only fair.
Man, it's crazy.
And yeah, that should have been the tip off where this guy knows more than what he's letting on.
Yeah.
Like he's playing the fool in court, or he's, sending back the discovery document with no written over it, playing a buffoon essentially. But that should be the tip off that, well, why not investigate you? You're investigating me, that he knows more about what's happening, or he has a better understanding than what you've been led to believe. Notwithstanding all the funny jokes in the entire courtroom scene. I tell you, one of the, I guess I want to call it a catch-22, but almost kind of like misdirects were those marble machines or the marble ramps they had. Because I was thinking, all right, maybe if you do a certain sequence, it pops open a compartment or something like that. Or he's got one in his office, he's got a couple in his house. Like there has to be something to do with these little marble machines. And no, it was just fucking cool and just like kind of an obsession. But it's like he's working on it in the courtroom. That's what he's drawing. Is the next one he's gonna build. So I'm looking, I'm like, okay, this has to tie in somewhere. And no, it fucking does not.
Yeah. No, it's genius because I do remember vividly the first time I saw it in theaters. Like, and Casey and I saw it, and she has this beautiful mind where she can forget movies that we saw forever ago. So it was, for her, it was almost like watching this movie brand new again. And I'm sitting going, I know how this ends, but I love this movie. But I remember very clearly the first time watching it in the theater thinking the same thing. It's got to be one of these marble machines. Like I was so obsessed with these perpetual motion machines that I'm like, it has to be something to do with that.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking that it would, like the big one in his house would trigger a lock behind his wife's painting or picture. Because I was like, how showing the painting would that be that the gun that he killed her with is actually behind that? And they don't know how to open it because it's one of these dastardly machines. But I'm with you. It's such a great misdirect that you're like, whoa, you don't even think about how simple it was that he just swapped. And they give it to you throughout the movie. Like they're sitting there when they first get the tape of him at the hotel room. And he's like, why the fuck was he there? Like, why do you go there? Why not just shoot him there? Why not? Why are you there? And so they ask you all these questions out loud throughout the movie that make you go, why was he there? What was he doing there? And if you think about it for 2 seconds, it makes sense. Well, shit, the cop's there. He's not going to have his gun out there on the pool. He's going to leave it in the hotel room. He could swap the gun. Oh, motherfucker.
I'll tell you what I thought, because I thought the gun swap happened in the house.
Yeah.
I was like, shoot, to get a look at what kind of gun the cop had. That's what I thought. I was like,
that makes
he
sense.
was after what kind of gun, because he had to swap it. In order for swap to make sense, it'd have to be the same gun. He's got to figure out exactly what kind of make, model, whatever. And then he's rich enough to go get a gun without needing a background check. Sure. We all know there's separate rules for really wealthy people. So I was like, boom, that's it. And I was like, missed it by that much.
I'm telling you. And I mean, it's so fucking genius. Like, the gun's never been fired before. When they say that line, I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, how do you pull that off? And then, you go through all the complex, like, ways. Like, he has a gun, he scratched, he changed, you got, like, falsified serial numbers. But I'm sitting there going, how do you pull that off? And it's just so simple that it's just a simple swap. Yeah. And I'm with you. Like, halfway through, I'm like, man, he had to have swapped it. That's why he had him set the guns down. The guy went in, he was without line of sight of his weapon. He swapped them, and then I was just like, okay, so the murder weapons, but I didn't think about the double swap. It's so
No,
fucked up.
because why would he swap it twice?
Yeah, it's extra work, right? Like,
It doesn't make any sense. You only got to swap it once.
yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those movies that's so good because I was like, I almost got it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I almost had it, but
Yep.
still just missed it kind of completely.
Yeah, and it just keeps you guessing. Well, and I love too, like the little nuance Well, one, I always love Anthony Hopkins' nuanced performances are so good because like his facial expressions and the way he delivers a line are ridiculous. But there were also some interesting pieces like that aren't a major part of the movie, but they really tell a big story too, and really add to this breakdown of poor Willie Beecham. Like his whole relationship with his future boss, this girl, and one, it's kind of dumb anyway, but I get it. Like they're so much alike in what they do. And I love Rosamund Pike. She's sexy as hell and she can kill it. She's such an underrated actress. Like she's been in some great things, but she's never like really been A-list. But everything she's in is really good. She's amazing. And so watching her in this and being part of the distraction that's keeping this dude from figuring it out, because not only is he distracted by the fact that he's going to this job, he's got this new job coming, he wants to win, he thinks it's an open and shut case, but he also now has this relationship that progresses pretty quickly. Like you go from meeting to sleeping together, great, I get that. But then to meeting the family at Thanksgiving, that's a big fucking jump. And not only that, but dad's a judge. Like, holy shit sticks. Like
you are diving in head first.
Yeah, this dude's got a lot going on, which certainly doesn't help him. But you're watching his life crumble. And so the actors around him, again, like you said, there's nobody major. I mean, you got Billy Burke, who like people see him and go, I know his face, right?
They're all really good, but it's like they've never just been the it person for what they're able to do.
Yeah. But from a supporting cast perspective, like
phenomenal,
amazing. Like it wouldn't be, like I say, it wouldn't be as good a movie without Anthony Hopkins for sure. I think you had a couple actors that could have filled Ryan Gosling's place. But I think, but like people like Cliff Curtis, who plays the detective that you're talking about, the one that has to search the house 1,000 times. Everybody knows his face, and he's such a good actor.
Nobody knows his name.
Yeah, I just had to look it up again to see what it was. But it's like, without him, that dynamic between him and Ryan Gosling was really entertaining throughout the movie. And you can see their frustrations playing off of each other, that they really want to get this guy, but they just can't figure out how. So it's just such a good movie. The writing is outrageous.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was like, normally I sit on the couch, right, and relax when I watch movies. I was up there like this. What's going to happen next?
It gets you, doesn't it? Like
it pulls you in.
Yeah.
And it's great because you have kind of, Anthony Hopkins, who is the, legend, right, amongst this cast. You can't replace him, but like you said, you could probably fit other people into these roles. And they would play a really good job because so much of the, I guess, focus is on Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
That they are free to kind of do what they're good at, fit into their role and make it their own. So they elevate themselves because Anthony Hopkins is kind of the one who's taking all the, I guess, pressure off of it. Just having him on set must have been incredible, first of all. But then just knowing that, he's kind of there to help you get through everything. He's got acting tips for you. This just giant of a man, walking among the poor lowly peasants, probably allowed them to shine even more. And I say they're B-list because they've never really made it, but they're still phenomenal supporting cast.
Oh yeah,
which is amazing that they surrounded, because then you have them surrounding Anthony Hopkins so that they can take some of that scene time away from him and still hold a great scene, so he doesn't have to be in every single part of the movie.
Yeah. And finally, on that note, like I will give Ryan Gosling his due in that he holds his own against Anthony Hopkins.
Yes.
Very well. And don't get me wrong, I think like in watching most Anthony Hopkins movies, I think he elevates the people that he shares scenes with on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Like I think it's kind of like that in sports too. Like I talk about that. Like there's football teams that are phenomenal, and you'll get like a really shit team that'll come in and play very well against this team because they just elevate their game where they're at based on who they're playing. And I think Anthony Hopkins brings that to the table because you'll see actors that you're like, I just don't see them being like, for me, Ryan Gosling's great, but he's not Anthony Hopkins level. But in this movie, when they're acting against each other, he is on
Yeah,
a
he shows
level.
up
You
to
know what I
play.
mean? Yeah. And so it's really like there's been very few times when I look at Anthony Hopkins, I'm like, oh, he's acting right now with an equal. Like Ed Harris in Westworld, when they're in the same scene, I'm like, Jesus, this is like juggernaut shit. And it's crazy. But most of these actors, like you'll still see him a lot of times in Westworld. Everybody that was with him, none of them are massive actors. They're massive actors now because of Westworld, but they all killed it in every scene he was in. So I think he brings that. But yeah, Ryan Gosling and him like played off each other very well.
Oh, it was amazing. That, I mean, when they're in the detention center or cell, whatever it is, detention block, great. The ending kind of, you know, at the end where they're in the house and they're playing off each other and there's that banter back and forth. Amazing. And then just the courtroom drama that you have, both when they're in the actual courtroom and then also when they're with just the judge talking.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like you said, you know, you up your game. It's easier to shine when you don't have that pressure, because I really like Ryan Gosling as an actor, but not necessarily when he's the lead.
Yeah. Agreed.
Like I think he is really good, even if he's a co-lead, a co-star, where he's sharing the screen with someone else, where he can feed off of the other person who's leading with him. If you put him kind of as the new Blade Runner, for instance, wasn't a huge fan of it, but when he was with Harrison Ford,
he's amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so he's one of those where it's like he's really good, but if you try and put everything on him, I just don't like him as, or don't think he can really rise to that great level. He still does a good job.
Sure.
He's great, but it's like that extra step to get to almost that legendary actor status.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, because most of the movies that I like him in, the more I think about it, like he's got somebody else with him, like Crazy Stupid Love. Like he's got great partners, like scene partners, and with both what's her face? I can't think. Emma
Roberts.
Emma Stone.
Robert?
Emma Stone. Emma Stone. I think it's Emma Stone.
There's a lot of Emmas.
God, there is. It is. It's Emma Stone and then Steve Carell.
Yeah.
So them playing off each other. Like I really enjoyed the movie The Nice Guys with him and Russell Crowe. It was a really weird movie, but they played together really well. So yeah, I mean, I think you're right on the money there. The more you talk about it, like he does well when he has a great scene partner. But there's movies like he did this one called Drive.
Oh yeah.
Just was not my favorite movie because he kind of had to carry it. So he doesn't carry films for me, but he does really well when he's got someone to act with. That's a good point. I like that. All right, should we rate this thing?
Let's do it.
All right, I'll go first. I don't think it's any secret that with it being my recommendation, I love this film. I loved it. It's one I watch every couple of years, every few years. I have to let it marinate, because too much, you're like, okay, I know all the secrets, right? When it's too fresh. So it's not as fun to rehash that. So the rewatchability does take a little bit of a hit. But as far as I've never watched it and been disappointed in the film, because I think the acting is so outrageously good, and I think the writing is so ridiculously good that it just carries this film no matter how many times I've seen it, that it's just that good. It's kind of like Inside Man in that way, where I know what's coming, but getting there is the fun part. And so it's like I can forgive the fact that I know the secret because it's so good still going through the process of getting to the end. And I love the little nuanced visual pieces and like the comparison of the characters. I think that really speaks to the writing too. Like, and I didn't even talk about it until just now, but like the very end courtroom scene, you see where the movie ends. There's kind of a flip flop, right? They were one-on-one against each other most of it. And then you see now that he's actually in trouble, he's got this whole team of lawyers behind him. And then it's just little Ryan Gosling sitting at his own table by himself, looking cocky and confident because he knows that now he's done the right work and he's done his due diligence, and now he's got him in this place where he's in trouble. So I really enjoy just those little pieces that if you're not paying attention to what's going on around you, you'll miss them. And I missed them all, most of them in the first, because I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And so that's one of the reasons the rewatchability is still good, because there's little things that you can see and catch and learn in each film. Yeah, great movie, just phenomenal. I'm giving it a 5. I've never done back-to-back 5s, but I'm giving it a 5, and I'm usually pretty harsh on my own recommendations because I try not to be. But this one's just so up there for me that, yeah, it's 5 for me. And I'll for sure be watching this again. So, all right, Alec, your turn.
Excellent. Yeah, so this was the first time I'd ever seen this movie, ever heard of this movie, and amazing. Once again, JJ's recommendations are spot on. I'll tell you, we didn't get to talk about it, but I think probably my favorite scene was the inner dilemma that Ryan Gosling has when he has planted evidence from the detective, and he's sitting there like, ooh, I could nail him. This is what I need. This is what I need. It could all go away. I can still win this. All I got to do is make the call. And he chooses not to. And it turns out to be the right decision because he finds the evidence he needs later. And I know that if he had brought out fake bullets, Anthony Hopkins would have had an answer. And that's probably what's going through his mind. Like, you know, what could possibly go wrong? How can he do this? So it's just such a great little tidbits with this film. As for the rewatchability, I think I would watch it again, but there would be parts that I would skip.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of talked about a little bit where it's a little bit slow in areas. On the first watch, I needed that because it kept me engaged. Like, when's it? There's got to be something. There's got to be a reason for this. Why is this here? Now, after I've seen kind of how it ends, I'm like, oh, I don't really need to see the DA going to his house and helping him move stuff. Skip. To kind of shorten it down a little bit. But on the first rewatch, I was going, why is the DA there? What does the DA know? The DA has to know something. Like, geez, why would you go all the way to this shithole of a house and help him move stuff? So, I mean, it kept me glued. Well done movie. Extremely great. And oh my goodness, 2023 is starting out great because this was a 5. Yeah. And I will be watching it again. That's back-to-back 5s for the both of us. We should not even invite Mattson back. Holy
I know, right?
This is great for the podcast.
We love it.
But yeah, we'll definitely be watching this one again.
Amazing. That's awesome. Movie. That's a great point, dude. I didn't even think about the fact that, like, I guess I did, but I didn't. The fact that when you talk about the scene where he's considering the planted evidence, like, it has to be running through his mind that this dude has kicked my ass all the way through this.
He has something planned for this trick.
Yeah, he's got to know that this is an option and that this detective who's sleeping with his wife would stoop there, right? So, that's a great point. Glad you brought that up. Man, you know, Alec, so Charles reached out, our Patreon. He reached out when I put this on the list for him to vote on Patreon, which there's my shameless plug. Go do that. If you want to vote on what movies we do each month, you can go do that on Patreon. But he was voting those for the 6 movies, and he picked one of these, and he told me he'd never even heard of this movie before. So he hadn't seen it either. So that's always exciting for me because this one, it's not a huge, well-known movie, surprisingly enough to me, but because it kind of slipped. It came out summer-ish, right before summer of 2007, which was a huge year for movies, and so it kind of slid under the radar.
And then really think about it, like after that year, you have the superhero movies, Marvel, that kind of take over the cinema.
Yeah.
So, like, I was like, this should have been front page everywhere.
Yeah. But it's not. It's a lot of people haven't heard of it. So, again, glad I can introduce cool movies to people that hadn't watched them or heard of them. So, because it's one of my favorites. But all right, sir, tell everybody where they can find us.
Absolutely. All right. So thank you for tuning in to our episode of Fracture. We appreciate the listen and hope you will stop by again. We were hoping that Mattson would be back from his wonderful and exotic land of the Hobbits trip. But, time and issues will rebound. Always. So we look forward to having him back soon. Be sure to check us out on YouTube, and where you can see our smiling faces. And, I had some more stuff about Mattson here, but we can just skip that because it looks like Slim Shady is going to make us wait a little longer for his return. Sir Anthony Hopkins absolutely delivered in this film, and we clearly need to revisit some of his lesser known roles. So let us know which one we have maybe overlooked or your favorite, and we can get it added to the docket. If you find that our crazy podcast speaks to your soul and decide to stay for a while, consider joining us on Patreon. Special thanks to our current patron, Auckland Zoo's Flamingo exhibit. You, sir, would be a great dick. This has been yet another first-class episode, and now I will send it back to the behemoth of bust, the caliph of clout, the great Bambino, JJ.
Oh, shit. That was good. He would make a great dick.
I know, right?
Just saying. You know who else is a great dick when it comes to finding obscure movies? Alec. You need to find a DVD that you can't seem to find anywhere else. That's your dick right there.
I will be your dick for anybody who wants a movie.
I love that this joke has just been a running joke for this whole episode.
This is not going away, by the way. I'm sorry.
No.
But this
I was going to stick around for a while. We're going to have to explain. You need to go watch the Fracture episode if you want to get the dick joke. Yeah, I love it. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Cinemagic out.
Whoa!